Hey, Mike here with Canadian Musician, once again at Canadian Music Week, and with me is one of the most buzzed about, hyped up bands, generating a lot of industry and label buzz right now, mostly because they're one of the, I guess, unsigned acts that I really, truthfully, researching these guys, don't know how you guys are still unsigned, so we're going to get into a bit of that. It is Palaye Royale. With me is Sebastian, Remington, Emerson, and Toronto, I guess, bred, but now Las Vegas based, and you guys have a massive following online. You have your own kind of, I don't know if you call it a fan club, but your own following called Soldiers of the Royal Council, and this exactly, it's like a cult. And so to get into it, but first let's start off with some introductions. I did a bit there, but just tell folks again who you are, what your role in the band is.
My name's Sebastian Danzig, and I am the guitar player and organ player at Palaye Royale, and we were the first unsigned band in history to win an MTV award. So
I'm Remington Leith, and I'm the lead singer of Palaye Royale, and yeah, that's my role in the band.
Hello, my name is Emerson Barrett. I'm the drummer of this wonderful band, Palaye Royale. We classify ourselves as a fashion art rock band, whatever that means to you, but it's just rock and roll.
Exactly, like you said, and like I mentioned, you guys from Toronto, now based in Las Vegas. There's more than just the music to you guys, obviously. There's a look, there's, like you said, like a cult going with this band. It's the entire package. I'm really interested how you guys found each other and where this vision developed for, like I said, not only music but the entire package of what this band is. How did this come about, really? Whoever wants to take the lead.
I think as Palaye Royale, and the three of us, as writers and artists and human beings in general, we like to stretch the bounds of just music, because that can get boring sometimes. So we dive into philosophy, poetry, art, fashion, cinema, all of that, because we enjoy doing every form of art because it gives us fulfillment, whatever that means.
It gives you that.
Fulfillment and meaning to life and existence.
Nice.
we edit and set design and produce and direct every single bit of footage that ever is released for the band. We produce and write all the records, so it's 100% hands-on. I think that's why our fan base, I think the industry has been kind of looking at it as like, well, why are you doing this without us? And, you know, a lot of people we've realized have come into it. It's like, where's my role in it? Why can't everything I'm telling you is completely wrong? And I'm like, because you're not my age and I know what the kids want to hear, because I'm generally my fan, you know, like that's the same age group of what it is. So when we have people, you know, in an older category trying to tell us how to make music videos, how to make records, we're like, well, we're just going to go with what our gut feeling is, and the only way you succeed as a band is by failing as a band. And a lot of bands don't do that. They think like it needs to be perfect and the first single needs to be absolutely phenomenal, and it does essentially, but you know, Nirvana was in a room and they were the worst musicians in the world together, and then they became the biggest band. That's what you have to do. You have to play show after show after show. Don't play one show a month. We're on tour and we're doing 50 shows in 30 days. So we're doing morning and nights. You know, we're doing school. We're playing to 3,000 kids a day right now on tour, and then we're going right into doing acoustic shows for the night for all the kids that come in that city. So, yeah, I feel like the industry just is lacking in that right now. So,
If you don't mind me asking, how old are you guys actually?
I'm 18 years old.
I just turned 21 like 2 days ago.
Nice.
and I'm 22.
First of all, how did you guys find each other? With most rock bands, you know, there's the usual taste and the chemistry when it comes together musically, but as we're going to be talking about, there's the fashion element, there's the art element, there's developing your cult following, and that. For me, it seems like there'd be a whole other thing associated with you guys, that some kind of serendipity that would need to take place to form a band where the three of you are sharing a very, very unique vision like this. Where did you guys find each other? And was the idea of what Palaye Royale has now become, was that there from the beginning?
Yeah, basically. And yeah.
We all kind of just have the same outlook on life in general, and we all kind of reached a point where we're just bored bored with the way things are going. Yeah. We're in 2015. There should be something like really exciting going on, but in my eyes, there's not much. And so, like, the three of us collectively decided that, you know, it's about time for a youth revolution, and, you know, like, instilling a sense of culture, and we do that by stretching the bounds of just music and going into art and cinema, and, you know, yeah, I think that's the most important thing for us, and collectively we share as a band, is to give a sense of culture again. You know, kids are just addicted to their phones, and no one has a conversation anymore, and if they do have a conversation, it doesn't mean anything.
The lack of art and the efforts being put behind what labels have been producing has been the problem why there's been a generational gap. And, like, you know, there hasn't been the last, you know, kind of cult following was like the Libertines, and there was something involved with that there was a fan base being in love with the whole aesthetic and lifestyle of a band. And I feel like that's kind of been fading away because it's producer bands. They're not bands. They're not people that, you know, it's like there's, you know, countless bands that are just kind of going in the studio and someone's creating their tone for them, and, you know, creating them what they think they should be, which is great if you can't do it yourself. But, you know, I feel like no one's allowing them to have the opportunity to be a band, you know, so.
And sorry if you couldn't hear that, Emerson was just sorry. Do you want to
Yeah, that's why we took it upon ourselves to be completely independent, and keep artist integrity alive.
So I feel like the big thing is, you know, why music hasn't really been working lately is, you know, no one's being honest. You know, everyone's just like, you know, the kids will maybe want to hear this if someone just says what they feel and put that into a song. I feel like that's a game changer.
Mm-hmm. And Sebastian, you brought up the Libertines comparison there when you're talking about with a band like that. It was more than just about the music. It was about the lifestyle, and that generates a more intense fan interaction. And I remember that back in the early 2000s when the Libertines were doing that. You know, well, anyone that listens to our podcast, has met me really. And I guess not so much in the magazine, but anyways, one of my all-time favorite bands is Oasis.
Yeah,
and they
demonstration of that.
Exactly. Yeah. And with them, I remember at a young age when I first got into them, it wasn't just the music, which obviously I loved, but there was a look and there was an attitude about the band that made me, it's the kind of thing that makes you want to do more than just hear the music. It makes you want to know everything about them. Yeah, exactly.
And there wasn't you know, the thing is with the Libertines or with Oasis, there wasn't, the front man was the favorite. You know, you knew every member. You know, that's the thing. You knew Bonehead and Oasis. You know, like, that's the thing, because it was a band, and it was like everyone was a character in a band, and that's the problem. I feel like people are focusing too much on the front man, which is important. You need a front man that's going to go off the walls, but you need the whole band to be able to be in its importance. And that's the thing, like, you know, our whole entire style already puts us in a different league, because the thing is, the bands we looked up to, it's all the 60s, you know, the Stones, the Faces, the 13th Floor Elevators, like the Kinks. It was all this thing that was there, and it was like this whole culture that was brought from them, and the lifestyle. You looked at a band and they sounded like they looked. Now it's like there's people putting styles together, and it's like, why do you need a stylist? It's like, you dress yourself and play the music that's honest to you. So,
do you guys see yourselves as part of a certain music historical lineage, whether that's going back to
50-year cycle?
Yeah, like if you go back to, like, in a lot of ways, I see you guys almost as there's an association there, something like the Velvet Underground, how they had that association with Andy Warhol in the early 70s. Lou Reed solo during his Transformer era kind of was partnered up with, or it was kind of part of a scene with Bowie and Iggy Pop when he was going through his glam phase. Like, do you guys see yourselves more part of that heritage, that lineage, or say the American style, Motley Crue 80s style? No,
totally the Velvet Underground and like the 60s, the whole you know, Flower Child kind of thing. That's what it is it kind of just, you know, for Remington, obviously it's like a reincarnation of Sid Vicious of the way of the look, but you know, vocally he's just bluesy rock and roll, so it doesn't entirely go from what the eye is looking, you know, that people would think he would sound like entirely. So but yeah.
Musically, how's it working for you guys as far as that partnership? Like, is one of you has one of you kind of taken the lead as the songwriter, or is it more democratic than that when you guys are developing your sound?
No, it's really all three of us, you know. There's not one person that writes more than the other, you know, because this guy will write a symphony and then this guy will write, 12 amazing songs, you know. There's always us three writing together all the time. Yeah.
And we always make sure that the three of us are doing all the lyrics together, even though he's projecting it and saying it, and it's most like he refines it and it's his thoughts. But the three,
what I believe.
Yeah.
So I have to sing it every night, so.
Yeah, exactly. But the three of us, here.
That's where we kind of different, we go into a different world because we were all classically trained in piano and then started learning other instruments. So we were taught the fundamentals of music making. And I think, like, as you look back to even the point of it, it was like Clapton was educated entirely on music. But that's where you're able to make your sound because you're not guessing at it, and you didn't get lucky writing one song. That's why I think bands have, like Blur had all this different style, but they had a clear vision of what the Blur sound was, and you listen to a track and it sounds like a Blur song because of the vocals and like the arrangements. And that's people just forget about that. They're like, oh, I'm gonna copy what's a typical pop formula and do that because it's working. And it's like, look at Arcade Fire, they're a perfect example that you could do whatever the hell you want and it works. And there's a lot of great bands out there that have this, but I think, like, as an upcoming band, like for our ages, it gets harder and harder because kids are sitting at their laptops and thinking that's making music, which it is in a sense of doing EDM and doing that stuff. But when you're trying to recreate a guitar tone or pianos, it's like, pick up an instrument, take the time, learn it. A computer's not going to perfect you, and all this track bullshit is what's killing music. And everyone blames the industry right now, but it's not entirely the industry, it's the effort that musicians are putting into it. So
to the point where that you guys are all classically trained pianists. I've spoken with other bands where they have that formal training background. Some of them, like you said, obviously it's going to come very in handy because you're going to get the basics in song theory, song structure, musicality, all that. But I've also heard them say sometimes with folks that have this background that they kind of have to unlearn some of both the hard constraints, but also some of the mental constraints that come with that education. Have you guys had that experience going from one to the other?
Yeah. One thing we've realized is we've gone through 9 bass players in the course of a year and a half by just doing, like, we did shows with Camp Friday, and so we had their bass player, we had all this stuff. But what we realized with them is they're trained session guys, and they'll come in and listen to one of our songs and they'll be like, that doesn't make sense, you're going major minor, like, you can't do that. And I'm like, but it sounds good, doesn't it? And they're like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. It's like, at some point you just have to go with what the ear is wanting to hear. And a chart in a book can teach you the fundamentals, but you still need to go with what sounds good to you. So
very cool. Like you mentioned, you guys were the first unsigned act to win an MTV Music Award. You'd won the very prestigious MTV Musical March Madness competition. Just to give folks an idea of the scope of Musical March Madness, the year before you guys won in 2014, the 2013 winner was Ed Sheeran. And in 2014 he beat out bands such as, I think, Coldplay was part of it. Linkin Park. Like, this wasn't some indie event. This was the big time, and which makes it mind-boggling, the fact that you guys have been able to generate the fan interest, and not only the fan interest, but the fan engagement that it takes to win something like that as an unsigned band.
I'm still trying to wrap my brain around it. So it's been almost a year, and I'm still like, how the hell did that happen?
Well, exactly. One of the things I wanted to ask about is it's a whole getting fans to listen to the music, maybe check out some of the stuff online, maybe have some interest in the album when it comes out. That's a whole different thing than generating what you described as a cult following, where they're engaged and they're active and they feel they have a role in spreading the word and they have a role in your guys' success. Was there any kind of conscious strategy behind generating this? Like, how did it come about?
Honestly, the whole thing has only been there's been a pure intention to our art, and we've kept that honest honesty in our music, which has resonated because our fans aren't, teeny boppers. Some of them are teeny boppers in the sense of like growing up ages, but our, fan base doesn't range from like, a 14 to 17-year-old fan base. It goes like, our concerts will have 30-year-olds, like literally people that are 10 years older than me at our concerts buying records because there's something there, and you can't really put your thumb on it, but you just know exactly what it is. And it's like we went and did our first show for this tour that we're on. We're playing high schools, and we walked out there and everyone's been saying, oh, rock and roll is dead, all this. Literally walked out there and it was 3,000 kids like jumping up and down, like high schoolers flashing us, girls crying. It was like the whole thing, like, and these are people that have never even heard the songs, so it's at some point there's something that just works and you don't know what the magic is, but it just is. And so the cult following that we just like kind of built, was just us putting out a lot of content that they could feel that they could put you on a pedestal, as in the sense of that they want to, idolize you in whatever sense that means. But there also is a little bit of a thing that they feel very connected to us, because we're not assholes that sit in our dressing rooms. We go out and meet fans every day, like that's our thing. We pass out flyers. We literally walk up like the Sunset Strip. That's how we would sell at the Viper Room 10 times consecutively. We were passing out flyers. We weren't sitting on social media saying come to my show, and I think that's where you can't lose the human connection. So that's why I think our fan base has been able to take us to where we are. So literally it's because of them that we've done that, and we, because of that, we got to the point of getting to Samsung, and we launched Get Higher into a worldwide commercial with them to launch their tablets. So it's like no unsigned band is pulling that off, and I think it's the fan base that has brought us to it. So
there's a number of things there I wanted to touch on, but like you were saying, people were saying, rock and roll's dead, and there's all this hyperbole that goes along with it, and then you come out and play as an unsigned act. You play to 3,000 students or 3,000 kids. And one of the things I've long believed or had a feeling about kind of having a major interest in rock and roll history is rock and roll's not dead. There's still loads of great rock and roll bands out there, but what I felt had been lost within the rock field and had been picked up by pop and rap and that kind of stuff is everything around the music, the attitude, the look, especially for young people. That's, I think, very underrated level of importance that goes along with that, and that's something that you guys are obviously have a real keen sense of, is you have to be more than just the music. When you look at your competition, are you getting that sense, and do you think maybe your guys' own success would have the industry taking notice of it? That's what's missing, is not the music. What's missing is something that makes people want to get engaged beyond the music, makes you want to be part of the gang sort of thing.
I don't think you could really concoct this in a boardroom, because I don't think this would ever get passed. Like, they would be like, no, let's not do this. Yeah, it's on us doing it. And I think with the kids' reaction, especially at the high schools that we're playing, each word and each note has absolute meaning to us, because that's just how we write and how we perceive art. So it has meaning to them, and they can see if it's been thought out in a boardroom or not. And kids are smart, and they get kids aren't dumb. They know what's good and what's not, and they obviously like us.
Especially in today's hypermedia age, people are so media educated that they can sniff out bullshit pretty quickly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And but you mentioned the Samsung commercial you guys were part of, and that had one of your hit singles, Get Higher, as essentially the basis of the commercial. And beyond, this wasn't just, if folks haven't seen it, look it up online. This wasn't just your guys' song got used in the commercial. The whole video for the commercial was based around your guys' look and aesthetic. Like, it's like they essentially did build this commercial around you guys. How, again, just to kind of beat the point to death here, but as an unsigned act without that label support generating that kind of thing, like, how the hell does that come about?
We went out as someone gave us a phone call and said, oh, we need actors for some commercial. You want to go out for this audition? We walked in there and we did like an acoustic thing of Get Higher. And the guy that was like the director and producer of the commercial literally was sitting there, and he was just like, we walk out with him, and he's like, all right, casting's done. We found the act, and like there's like literally like 100 other kids like standing out there, and they're like, huh? And but it's like we're walking out there like looking like this. I'm like, of course they're gonna put us in. It's a Korean company, it's like Asian companies that they love our style, and that's the thing. So we went. The music wasn't pitched as it was just us as actors. We went and we did it at Siren Studios in LA, and literally showed up. And they're like, do you want to do it to like a Stone song or whatever? And we're like, just to mock it, to like make the performance look alive. And we're like, oh, we'll do it to our song Get Higher. And literally like one of the Korean one of the people for Samsung, the president of Samsung ran over, and he just like stops the music. He's like, what song is this? We're like, it's ours. He's like, we want it. And like, and we're like, okay. And so like that just like literally that morning they were like, all right, let's drop the contracts and do this. It wasn't like, you're getting paid as much as like anyone else would get for a placement, but the exposure, let alone just, was able to do stuff that no one's ever been able to touch into. And so it's something we can walk into, the record label boardrooms and say, you can't do this, we can. So, we're here to work with you. We're not here to work against you. And let us, that's the thing, is the artist integrity. Out of all that, it's been showing us that our artist integrity is the most important thing for this band, and that's why it keeps on progressing by ourselves. We just need some sort of help and guidance in the sense of there is A&Rs out there that understand this entirely. It's just the ones that will say yes to it and say, okay, let's do this. And we've had the interest like for the past year or two, but it's people move around the industry so much, and I don't want to be with someone that's going to be from Capitol to Universal tomorrow, and it's like then you're dropped, and then all this effort that we're trying to find someone that literally has the security as much as we need the security. So, and it's a hard tactic, and the only people that we've kind of fallen into play with is there's a couple of people that have come up to us and like, we get it, do it, but their thing isn't launching for a second. Yeah. We can't talk about that stuff.
Okay. I'd read, I should tell for folks, you have an EP that came out, was about a year ago or so? 2 years ago or so, called The End's Beginning. You also have a couple of non-EP singles, Get Higher, like we had mentioned, and the second Morning Light is the second single, not on the EP. But I'd read or noticed on your guys' Twitter, one of you or whoever does your Twitter had responded to a fan, and you'd said you actually have 2 albums written, and I know there's an album planned for a fall launch. What's happening? Essentially, is the album that's going to be coming out in the fall, is that recorded, mixed, ready to go? What stage is that at?
We just have the songs. Sorry, you're saying? We just have this. We have 30 songs right now, but we're not in the studio. We're not recording them. But that is the next step right after we get off this tour.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The thing is that we made the decision. The fans are more important than us recording music right now. And because anyone can go in the studio, make a record, but no one can play to 120,000 kids in less than 30 days, So we're like, let's do that. And literally we booked in the first day the people that do put on the shows. Like it's sponsored by Guitar Center, it's sponsored by Tilly's. It's like a huge thing, and they donate $10,000 worth of musical equipment to each school we go to. So it's awesome. It's putting, art back in the school systems, which has been lacking. And I literally walk off stage, and the owner comes to us and he's like, okay, you guys are booked for the full fall tour. And so we're like, all right, cool. So we have time to go record the album. But Atticus Ross, actually, at a Gary Newman concert, I went up to him and I was like, I'm in love with everything he's done for like Girl with Dragon Tattoo and Book of Eli. And I was like, I want you to do my record. And he's like, I don't really do bands, but this guy will, or this guy will. And it was the guy that was in Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, and the guy that produces Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. It was Nick Launay, and he was just very, stoked on it. He's done as Arcade Fire, Midnight Oil, just works. And he brought, some people in, and we're going to do the record with him. But he is the first person that's like, let's make a live rock record. Everyone else like, let's polish everything. And we're like, but that's not the mood and the tone. Yeah. So we have a full conceptual thing. It's a double album in a sense, but we're splitting it into 2 parts. So the songs that's what we're playing on the road, and it's working. The EP was a step for us, like just to get into the mode of Palaye Royale, and we basically went and just tried everything we possibly could. And then we finally landed into the world of doing what entirely because that was like our strings and all the gospel singers, all this stuff that we wanted to add in there. But sometimes if you can't play it as a guitar, bass, and drums and vocals, there's no energy, and you can make a lot of stuff in the production side of things, but if you can't just jam in a room and make it sound awesome, that's what Oasis was so good at, and that's why those records are what they are, because they were just sitting in then the boardwalk under it, literally jamming this stuff out. And that's what's cool, and that's what the Stones did. And it's like every band we ever looked up to, and we're like, why don't we just go tour them and see what the fans like, And so live pre-production. So the kids like it, and it's good. But the Ends Beginning was good, but Get Higher is basically the main theme of kind of like how the record's going to be. It's rock and roll with 6-minute songs. So it's we have our single formatted stuff, but the whole conceptual thing, there's a lot of different parts and little different modes for each of our stuff we're doing. So yeah, it's Palaye Royale at the end of the day.
Do you guys have an interest in breaking mainstream? Is that yeah? Do you want to? Well, obviously, you guys want to do it on your own terms, but
I don't think on our own terms. Like, obviously this why we're playing a show last night in Vegas and flying over here, because there's some interest over here, and it's like we want to find someone that knows the right team, and we're building our team, and we can do all the efforts of making the music and doing all the shows and stuff, but sometimes you just need a little bit of help and a little bit of guidance, and we're still sponges at the end of the day that we're going to learn and absorb whatever anyone has to offer. So we've realized we were like an indie band before Get Higher, and then Get Higher came out, and it kind of just already broke like a mold. Like if you have an MTV award, you're automatically in the pop mainstream thing. And that's what we enjoy, like literally playing that live. You see, thousands of kids jumping up and down and screaming your music back at you. That's what's exciting. Anyone can go and write like this big grandioso stuff, but not anyone, but you can write it and go sit around, and the concerts just get very shoegazing. And for us being young, we like jumping around, so.
No ride covers then in that case. Before we wrap up here, like I mentioned off the top, you guys have a showcase tonight at midnight at the Hard Rock, and from what I've heard, it's going to be one of the most buzzed about from a fan perspective, but industry buzz. A number of labels have interest in you guys, want to be checking you out tonight. You talked a bit about it before there, but do you have, what's the ideal label signing for you? I assume at some point it's going to happen. There's just way too much interest in you guys for it not to happen at some point. What's the ideal partnership with a label then that you were looking for?
We're just looking for the right team, because we're not desperate for a deal right now. We're not going to kiss anyone's ass for, a deal that lasts 2 years and they put us in the wrong categories, because that helps no one. Because we have the music, we've got the fan base. Right now, I'm saying we're sitting in a pretty good position. So we kind of have our picks, but our picks of labels, and we're just trying to find the right team. But for the showcase, I'm definitely going to blow some minds tonight.
I mean, it's most important to find someone else that's like as passionate as we need an A&R needs to be a fourth member of the band. It can't just be like, what you're doing is cool, whatever. It has to be like, fuck yeah, you guys are killing it. We need we want people to yell back at us and be excited and angry in meetings, and we like that.
We want someone to be the label. Sorry, is that we want someone to actually be the label. You need the people that created Atlantic Records, basically those type of people that are telling you this is how you're going to make records. We were really fortunate this past year. We Ronnie Bingenheimer, who just K-Rock, we met him in a soup plantation in Los Angeles, and literally he put us on the phone with Kim Fowley, and he was the reason why the Runaways and Kiss and all that were what they were. And we had countless hours with him, and he was just before he passed away this past year. And you need managers and you need label executives just like that just really kick your ass and literally are characters themselves. And I feel like people are, it's a business, of course it is, but you need still that attitude behind it, you know, and the drive that you're like, I fucking love that, you know, and that's what's lacking. So
sorry to beat the Oasis references to death, but you need an Alan McGee type figure.
Oh yeah.
Like creator of Creation Records, but he has as much a character as the bands on his label are.
Yeah.
But anyways, guys, well, first of all, you said the entire conception for the double album you guys are going to be doing is out there. Just so that people, when they hear about it, know that it's you, know what it is. Is there a title in mind for it yet?
It's going to be called Boom Boom Room.
Why Boom Boom Room?
We did a show at the Soho House in New York. Yeah, but we did it. We had a house in the Hollywood Hills, and in the basement we invited about 200 fans to it. We didn't tell them it was our house or anything, and we did like a guerrilla style club, and we did 2 shows, I think. We just packed people in there. Just like smoking cigarettes and and then we played what our record is, and people reacted, and it was wonderful. So the club, an event was called Boom Boom Room, and that's why the album will be that.
That's where the album was created. So
there you have it. And well, if you hadn't heard of these guys, Palaye Royale, before now, my guess is you'll be hearing a lot about them over the next few months to a year. I truly hope even bigger things are in store for you guys, because I do think that you guys are bringing something back to rock and roll that I feel has been missing, which is a whole look, a whole style, bringing something that makes people interested in more than just music. And I love it. Thank you guys, and good luck with your show tonight. I hope you blow everyone that's there away.
Thank you so much, man.
Cheers.
Appreciate it. Yeah.